Quick video today about a small yet really helpful system I've been using to start literally every web design project for more than a year now. And I actually debated whether to make this video because the system I'm going to be explaining is so simple and low tech. I thought maybe it's not even worth sharing. But on second thought, I realized that's kind of why I do want to talk about it, because I think it's just a good reminder that not everything in the web design process needs to or really should involve some fancy tool in order for it to work really well and get the job done. In fact, I think sometimes we over-obsess over tools and it can be a bit of a distraction. So what I'm going to talk through is the simple system I use for collecting, organizing, and actually making use out of relevant web design inspiration or reference material at the beginning of every new project. So before I created this protocol, the way I would start every client project, and I'm not proud to admit this, I'm just being honest, was that I would spend hours poking around the internet, browsing kind of passively for inspiration in that particular client's industry. So I would just kind of be surfing around, taking screenshots, inevitably getting distracted and going down random rabbit holes. It was honestly very inefficient, which is why I don't do it anymore. So here's what I do instead. I have a really simple but very nicely organized bookmarks folder of website inspiration. And I know what you're probably thinking, like, yes, everybody has an inspiration folder. This is not groundbreaking, but just stick with me. So within this folder is a little library of what I consider to be examples of best-in-class websites across 10 or so industries. And these are all subcategories of my overall niche. So I mostly work with professional service businesses. So let's say I get a new client and they are a small accounting firm, for example. Rather than go look up accounting firm websites or financial services websites in places like Pinterest, Behance, Dribbble, Mobbin, Awards, whatever. I already have a really well curated folder that's ready to go that I've been adding to over time. And here's what I do. So the first thing is I right click on it and then I select open all however many tabs in a new window. I then always get this slightly judgmental message asking me if I'm sure I want to open all these new tabs. And I'm like, yes, let me live. So then here's the important part. I spend maybe 30 or so minutes browsing these websites doing three main things. Number one, I'm understanding or reminding myself of the visual language landscape in this particular industry. So maybe the client is just starting out and they really do want to associate and kind of align themselves with the aesthetic of bigger, more established competitors. But maybe the brand strategy of your client is actually to really stand out and say, we're, a different kind of accounting firm. So maybe they want to make sure that their visual language really differentiates them. So all of this, of course, you dig into in the discovery phase, but regardless of what makes sense for that particular client to do, I just think it's really good to enter that conversation really familiar with the range of visual languages and aesthetics that are being used within their niche. Number two, I'm looking for patterns in terms of what content gets included on accounting firm websites typically. So what industry specific services or customer concerns do they seem to be talking about? How are they breaking down different sections and pages? So this will help me make sure that I'm going to be able to help my client make sure that we're covering the foundational industry information that their audience will probably expect to see. Number three, finally, I'm just kind of training my eye to understand the elements of what I consider to be at least great websites in this particular niche. So part of doing great design, I think, is just understanding why we love and gravitate to certain design, in this case, certain websites. So I think that the more time we spend not just looking at websites, but analyzing what's working about them, the better design instincts we're able to get over time. And of course, all that inspiration only matters if you actually then apply it, which is where practice and projects come in. But I think it's really good to have kind of a diverse library of work relevant to your niche that you can come back to get inspired and to ask yourself, is my work aligning itself with these best-in-class examples? So there's a few reasons why I have come to really love this approach to organizing my inspiration and reference materials. And one of them is that it allows me to avoid collecting overly shiny website concept work, and instead it keeps me focused on looking at real responsive websites of actual businesses, right? So Dribbble and Behance, for example, sometimes you're not actually looking at real published websites. And sometimes on sources like awards.com, you're looking at the work of, honestly, web designers kind of showing off to other web designers rather than just great, nicely built websites that work well for the businesses that they represent. And often, or maybe most of the time, those websites are not winning awards, and that is totally fine. They're probably doing the job that they are supposed to be doing, which is helping their business. Another reason I like using simple bookmark folders is that they are distraction and ad free. So unlike Pinterest or One Page Love, for example, that are kind of like sprinkled with ads that are, I find them quite distracting. Lastly, maybe my favorite reason is that this is a free approach to collecting and organizing inspiration. So there's no subscription. I understand there's tools like MyMind that have more advanced functionality around tags and making notes, but sometimes simple really is better, and I don't want to pay for something like that if I don't really need it, which I don't. So that's it. Whenever I stumble on a website that inspires me, either because it has really beautiful visual design or it has super well-structured content, rather than just plop it in an unorganized folder and forget about it, I file it in its appropriate industry, and then the next time I have a project in that niche, I open up that set of websites and I just spend 30 or so minutes doing what we just talked through. Again, I know it's nothing fancy, but I guess that's kind of the point. So take this as a reminder that to work well, systems just need to be useful for you. And sometimes the key is not overcomplicating things. See you next time.